The Jefferson Market Garden in Greenwich Village is one of the loveliest places I can't stand. Flowering season seems to last longer there than the rest of the city. The low-rise nature of the surrounding buildings allows precious sun to warm the ground for Lenten roses in the first weeks of March, and keeps the garden inviting until the last camellias drop their petals in November. The only potential reminder of the spot's 150-year history as a prison is the high steel fence, which these days keeps the unwanted riffraff out rather than in. I used to love this garden. I'd sit by the koi pond, do interviews on my cell phone, and think what a beautiful oasis it was, what a gift the village had given the city. Now, I can't look at it without hearing J. Toole's voice describing the brutal physicals that doctors had inflicted upon her there when the garden was a prison called the Women's House of Detention. When I go into the garden, I'm always brought back to the one time, happened many, many times, but this one stands out. He's telling me to get on the table and put my feet in the stirrups and this and that. And it felt like his whole arm went in there, you know? And they checked everywhere. Every hole you have, that's where they went. And he was like, "All right, get off the table. Hurry up, we got to bring the next one in." Hurry up? And I couldn't move. The pain was so bad, and I don't know what he did up in there, but it was so bad. When I looked down, I was covered in blood. And they didn't do nothing. Today, it's hard to imagine that a prison once graced the rarefied streets of Greenwich Village, one of New York City's most picturesque and unaffordable neighborhoods. But for almost as long as there has been a Greenwich Village, which is to say, almost as long as there has been a United States, detention centers have been an integral part of village life. The last of them, the Women's House of Detention, stood from 1929 to 1974. It was one of the village's most famous landmarks, a meeting place for locals and a must-see sight for adventurous tourists. And for tens of thousands of arrested women and transmasculine people from every corner of the city, the House of D was a nexus, drawing the threads of their lives together in its dark and fearsome cells. Some were imprisoned there once, for as little as a day. Others returned often and were held for years at a time. For decades, upon their release, these women navigated the streets of Greenwich Village, ate in its automats and diners, caroused in the bars that would let them in, lived in nearby tenements, slept rough in the parks, visited friends and loved ones who were on trial or in detention, worked what jobs would hire them, attended court-mandated health screenings and probation meetings, and in 1,000,001 other ways made the village their own. Now, aside from a small plaque on the garden's fence, they have been almost entirely forgotten. Almost. The slim few who have fought to preserve the memory of the House of D are mostly working-class lesbian and or bisexual women and transmasculine folks, the people most likely to fall into its clutches and least likely to have other landmarks to call their own. J. Toole first ended up in the orbit of the House of D when she was 13 in 1960. Some friends had given her the haircut every cool boy wanted, a tight fade flat top just like Steve McQueen and Mickey Mantle. That was the final straw for her father, a violent, sexually abusive man who ruled their Bronx home with his fists. That night, he threw her out, and Jay lived among the queer kids on the streets of the village for the next 25 years. At the age when most of her peers started high school, Jay started heroin. In 1964, she stole a taxi to drive her girlfriend to California, but they only made it as far as Texas before they were caught, and Jay was sentenced to her first bid in the House of D.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.